Hello all, welcome to yet another Zensible webinar. I am your Zensible host, Veda. I'm sure most psychology students who are here want to start their private practice in mental health. But how many will actually end up doing it? And more importantly, how many will stick with it for over 2 years? Not because they aren't skilled, not because they lack passion, but because, let's face it, Freud never taught us how to send an invoice. And Carl Rogers didn't leave notes on GST registration. So you've learned how to hold space for clients' emotions, but nobody taught us how to hold space for Google Sheets, Calendly links, or, oh God, explaining UPI QR codes to clients, right? So that's why we are here today to help us automate the admin so we can focus on what really matters, the therapy itself. And to help us understand how to do that, especially without burning a lot of our budget, we have someone truly special, Divya Shah, the founder of Vinyasa. And she is a powerful force in making therapy accessible, ethical, and scalable. She's passionate about making system level change. If you're following her on LinkedIn, you will know that she writes a lot about it and the nitty gritty of daily practice, which makes her the perfect person to teach us how to turn all of this chaos into quiet and calm, one automation at a time. Welcome, Divya.
Thank you so much, Vera, for this warm introduction. And I'm really glad to be back here. This is the second workshop that we are doing, and I'm super excited to be doing this and seeing so many more new faces around. Hello, everyone. Sorry, is there someone?
I'm just going to mute whoever is not muted. Yeah, I
No
think we are
worries.
good.
Yeah,
And we are
I was
good.
just saying thank you everyone for joining, and I'm super excited for this. Would love for you guys to turn on the cameras, probably. Just helps me make it a little more human. And feels like okay, I'm putting faces to the names and not just looking at the names on the screens. So thank you so much. Thank you, Veda, for having me here once again. I look forward to this.
Oh, not a problem. It's fun. The last time we spoke, also we spoke about what to expect when we are starting our practice. We touched upon some of these topics, but we really didn't go into the details about how to do it, what tech to use, etc. So this is the perfect, conversation for us. So for all of you who have joined, grab your coffee because it's such a lovely evening. Charge your laptop, get ready to take a lot of notes because it's going to be one of those amazing sessions which is going to change how you run your entire practice whenever you start it. So, Divya, let's start with what I said. Carl Rogers didn't teach us how to do GST, refunds or even, charges. So, as a private practitioner, when I'm just starting, right? Do I have to worry about the GST, the registering my business, all the government taxations? Can I do my private practice without registering? I know that is technically not free automation we're talking about, but it's before that, a step before that, right? So if you don't practice, if you practice without registering, what are the risks involved there?
Uh, okay, that's a very interesting question and something that I really love talking about. So clearing up the air, first thing first, until and unless you reach the 20 lakhs mark in your annual revenue or annual income, you don't really need to go for GST unless and of course you're dealing with organizations on the other hand, who are charging you who are charging you GST, right? So this essentially then helps you with the whole concept of input and output tax credits, which is a very deeper accounting concept. But all in all, अगर 20 lakhs तक का revenue नहीं है, for now, you can skip GST. But registering your practice, if you're just starting out and want to get started and ensure you are, wanting to test the waters first and not get into the compliances mess, have your PAN card. That's like a must. Like you need to have your individual PAN card. You can go to MSME or you can go to Udyam to register yourself as a business, right? Have a basic business account or have a separate account from your personal account wherein you're collecting all the payments from the clients, right? So your PAN card becomes essentially a must there. And if you're a solopreneur, that's all you need essentially for registering, right? Until and unless you want to go and take a step further to become a one-person company, which is little more compliances than sole proprietorship, but way less than a LLP or a private limited compliances. I hope this kind of helps. And yeah.
So that was very clear for me. And for those who are there, if you have any questions, feel free to keep putting the questions on the chat. We love a really, really good, active chat window over there. So if you what you said about registering and everything made sense. If you are a solopreneur, which is what people who are starting out on private practice would be most of the time, you don't need to have any CAs or anything. You can go and register yourself and cut down on the cost of, getting a CA to do that for you, right?
Uh, Having a CA essentially, it's a kind of a good thing to have, and it eventually becomes a must have, because when you have to file your taxes at the end of the year, right, you still need a CA. PAN card, you can go apply through the government website, cool. But if you have a CA, the CA will help you take care of the next steps, which is keeping your books, which is way more important than just registering your business. Because once you register your business, which you can, as I said, right, it's pretty much couple of form filling and applications on Udyam or on MSME, and you'll be good to go there. No automations. You can't do automations there. You have to go and do this yourself. And it's always a good idea to have a CA. Now, when I say you need to have a CA, just know someone in your network who can help you with maintaining books if you're not good at bookkeeping yourself, and if you have a good inflow of clients, right? Because you need to file taxes. Even if you earn, say, 3 lakhs in an annum for the first year, it's okay. Still go and file your ITR, because it will help you when you have to take loans. It will help you improve your credit score. It will help you improve your CIBIL score, which is a larger part of the credit score. And yeah, it helps with a lot of things, but nothing of this can be automated. So you have to do these things manually. So the earlier you start this into your practice, the better it becomes for you going down the line, and you will not be holding your head and crying.
Yeah, okay. That is a very, very good advice. Don't skip that step. So let's start. You said you have a lot of clients, or you may have a good inflow of clients. The first step is to allow clients to book sessions with you. And for that, you need to have some sort of scheduling mechanism, right? And it something that will also integrate seamlessly with WhatsApp or SMS, etc., so that you can make it automated, like you said. What are some tools that are available which will help us do that? If there are any free tools that will help us do the scheduling pretty easily.
Okay. So there is one, I mean, there are not any exactly free tools. These are all freemium tools, meaning that certain features are free. But then after a point, if you want more advanced features, you pay for them. And this includes tools like Calendly. Google has its own appointment scheduler now, right? Which helps you create a little mini website kind of a thing, a one pager, and allows you to set up your schedule. Then there is something called as Zoho Bookings. Now, if you use Zoho Books, and if you have Zoho Bookings also, these are two different products, but it's little easier to integrate for free in the free tier, right? And kind of helps you manage things around. But the 3-4 tools that I'll suggest is Calendly, but it lets you only do one type of an event. So you can either have a 60-minute appointment, or you can have a 15 minutes free introductory call. You can't have both in the free version. Then you have got Google Appointment Scheduler. Now, if you use Google Workspace as a practitioner, which I, by the way, recommend every practitioner to do, have a Google Workspace. Do not use your personal Gmail, because personal Gmail is not HIPAA compliant. Okay. So if you have a Google Workspace, you get a lot of events that you can create. in the Google appointment scheduler. And then you've got Zoho bookings, as I mentioned. And if you are being really, really, I would say, money conscious and want to just make a very minimal investment, you could go to websites like AppSumo, which kind of gives you like lifetime deals. Okay. You've got TidyCal, which I think comes at a $30 lifetime. Okay, $30 is what, like 3-4 thousand, and it's pretty cheap, I guess, because it what this does is all of these tools, whenever a client makes a booking, you get a notification, the client gets a notification, it gets into your calendar. So the chances of no shows comes down drastically because there's a reminder being sent at certain intervals that has been preset in the free version. And if you are in the paid version, then you can override those default reminder durations. But these kind of tools help you. And if you are a little on the tech side of a person, there's something called as Twilio. It's TWILIO. And that you can use essentially to do a lot of automation. It also has a certain free tier, right? Again, freemium tool, which you can use to send automated SMSs and WhatsApp messages to your clients, right? That kind of also does the job. But I am going to recommend one thing, that is refrain from WhatsApp as much as you can and stick to emails. Have your separate work email and stick to that. You don't need to buy a domain if you don't want to, but have a separate work email which has all your work related emails, like be it the, I would say, appointments that you get, be it any homework sending, be it anything for that matter, right? So I guess these are certain tools that I would recommend.
Okay, that is a good set of tools for scheduling, Divya. Thank you so much. Just curious to know, when you say emails are better rather than WhatsApp, is it because the privacy of the practitioner is important, and once the number is out there, it becomes out there? Is that one of the main reason why you're saying that, or is it also because of HIPAA compliance?
There are multiple factors to it. One is, of course, the privacy part to it, because WhatsApp is not HIPAA compliant. WhatsApp is meant to be consumer. We need to understand this basic thing ki agar koi product, if there's any product that which we are using today as a normal people, it is not meant, it will not fall into the category of HIPAA compliance. Even Zoom has a different segment which is called Zoom Healthcare, which is HIPAA compliant. Yeah. Google Meet also is not exactly HIPAA compliant until unless you're part of the Google workspace. And then you go on to signing business associate agreement, something to wherein you are telling Google that, okay, I'm going to use your software for something extremely confidential. But that's one part. The other reason why I recommend clients to, therapists to stick to emails is also about boundaries, right? Because I mean, I had faced this. I don't know. I think today's practitioners are probably much more better, but this was like 6-7 years back. My therapist, they had essentially their work and personal numbers same. So I could see their WhatsApp stories. They have all the rights to have their life, like personal life. But I think as a client, it kind of becomes a little difficult for me if, like, when I saw the breakup story. I mean, it kind of intervenes and impacts that somewhere subconsciously the relationship, right? So it's about boundaries. You don't want your clients to call you at 12 a.m. in the night. You want to have your family time. So it's boundaries. One is boundaries, one is privacy. These are two main reasons why I say to refrain from WhatsApp or anything that gives out your personal digits.
Actually, I was talking to practicing therapist, and she does couples counseling, and she was telling that even with your social media accounts, have a personal one and a work one, because even if you're posting one update or one picture that is personal in nature, that might, you don't know how that is going to affect the client, and that will change your relationship. So keep your personal and your professional social media accounts separate. So that's not free automations, but that is free advice.
Yeah, that's needed, like, right? So also the whole automation part becomes a bit more easier if you have these things divided from the get-go, because when you start putting automation, like you want to put automation on WhatsApp, what's any automation tool like Zapier, or there is something called as Make. These are automation tools, by the way, which you can use to put lot of pieces together and set up an automation. Okay, they have the free tier, which I think does the job for majority of the practitioners today. But the point is, they'll ask you if you want to connect your WhatsApp for your WhatsApp business number. They will not let you do your personal WhatsApp. You need to have a WhatsApp business app, which means that you have a business number, which is different from your personal number. So it even boils down to that. Even if you don't want to have the boundaries concept, you want to have automation, you still need a business WhatsApp number. Like, yeah, that's there.
Yeah, that makes sense. Makes sense. So since we are talking about social media, let's talk about that a little bit, right? Before even you start to get clients and start to look into scheduling, it has become imperative that you need to do a little bit of marketing. Even if you don't like it, at least you need to be able to go into LinkedIn or Instagram and say that, hey, these are I'm doing therapy. You can come and schedule your therapy sessions with me here. This is what I do. So a minimal marketing still needs to be there. Are there any automations that make it easier for our branding and marketing and social media post and contents easier?
Yes. So I think everyone might be familiar with this app, Canva. Now the best part is with Canva, you can connect your Instagram account, you can connect your LinkedIn account, and you can connect your Facebook account as well now. So whenever you are done creating a post, if these accounts are created, it's at the click that you schedule all of these posts, right? Because you're anyways designing them. Now you don't have to download it and then go and put it. This kind of saves up your time if you connect these apps into one single app, right? And with the whole Canvas recent launch of features, they have made the whole designing also very easy. So Canva is one major tool that I always recommend practitioners to get started with, because it also has a lot of templates. But again, practitioners or majority of the people still don't know that you can connect your Instagram and your LinkedIn and everything to it, so that it just gets shared out in a click. And again, the tools that I mentioned, Zapier, right? So Zapier is essentially it's Zapier, Zapier. That sits at the bottom of the automation, which means that it kind of everything gets connected through it. So you can have Canva. If you don't want to connect your accounts directly to Canva, you can have Canva, and then you can have Instagram, and then you can have LinkedIn, you can have WhatsApp, and everything, connected with through the Zapier. But I just don't recommend that, because if Canva has it inbuilt, just go ahead and do it with Canva.
Yeah. Yeah. And Zapier allows you to drag and drop. It's not like Twilio where you need to be a little bit tech savvy, but it still needs a little bit of, poking to get the automations going, right?
You just need to know your apps, that, okay, this is the app I want to use, and this is the sequence I want. So you can't have Instagram first and then Canva, right? You need to know that, okay, when a post is created here, I want it to get published on Instagram, right? You need to know sequence. It's a simple drag and drop, in all honesty. It's not at all that technical. Twilio is still a bit technical, because you need to know some lines of codings here and there, and you need to know how things function a little. But with Zapier, no, you don't.
Okay. Right. So, okay, we spoke about marketing, we spoke about session booking. I know you are a big proponent of ask the client to pay before they come to session. So I completely agree. You need to make sure you do that. But are there any free automations that help you with taking payments, billing, invoicing if the clients ask for it? And also, can you touch upon if they cancel, how do we refund the money with these free automations a little bit as well?
Okay. So you can't exactly refund money upon cancellation until unless you're using API of some tool. Okay. But so there's something called as Razor Pay, which I think all of us are aware of, right? So even if you have your PAN card, you can register as a sole proprietary merchant, become a Razor Pay merchant and collect all the payments there. Now, Razor Pay holds on the payment, I think, for good 48 to 72 hours before it makes a settlement to your account. Now, if the client is essentially canceling it, you can initiate the refund from there itself before it comes into your account. And even if it has come to your account, you can still initiate a refund. And then I think there is a mechanism through which Razor Pay will adjust the balance when you get your next payment. That's one way, right? But if I were to talk about using the existing tools to make it up, the way I would go about this is use Google Forms. Okay. Now, Google Forms has something very basic, that what do you want the user to, like, what do you want the user to do next once they submit the form? So you can now display your QR code link there, or your QR code, essentially आपका Google Pay, UPI जो भी है, ठीक है? And the client is essentially expected to make the payment, right? And or if you want, you can break this down into 2 steps. You can essentially be like, okay, section 1 of the form. This again, I think a lot of practitioners don't know, is sectioning the forms. That only if you do this, now say you offer 2 therapy. Okay, I'm just going to break this down into an example. You offer individual therapy sessions and you offer couple. Okay, I come to you and your charges are different for both. For individual, you charge 1,000. For couple, you charge 2,000. Now, what you can essentially do is that when I put in my details, I choose the type of therapy session I want. Based on that, you get me redirected to the QR code, which tells me which the QR code is same on the back end. But on the front end, it is essentially just helping you understand ki wo payment was made for what. So you can essentially just reiterate there on that section of the page, please pay 2,000 rupees for couples therapy. And you have the QR code there. You get the point. And if they choose individual, it goes to the other page, which says, please pay 1,000 rupees for individual therapy session. That kind of essentially helps the user also to know how much they're supposed to pay, because it's kind of just reaffirming what you just said initially, right? Reiterating, my bad. So that's one of the other ways. If you want to go a little more tech, and oh, by the way, sorry, you can transfer your responses to Google Excels, Google Sheets, right? Now, this also then helps you track, okay, the responses. It essentially helps you track who has made the payment, what payment has come in. And if you're asking for screenshots, great, bingo, nothing like it. You will see all of it in the Excel sheet at the back end, so that weekly or monthly, you're able to do your bookkeeping little bit more easier. That kind of you just set up one form and then it gets stored in the backend properly, and you know what is happening. You keep a track of things.
Okay.
Right.
If you do Google Forms and if you do the QR code, all of that is free because Google Forms is free. The GPay, most of the people have. You can get the QR codes, and the Google Sheets are free and all of that. But if you go with Razorpay, there is a convenience charge which either you need to take it or you pass it on to your client, isn't it?
Yeah, you need to. So the charges is essentially 2% of your transaction fees that the Razorpay charges. And then on that 2% amount, they charge a 5% GST. Now, this is where if you have a GST number, you can claim that as an input tax credit.
Yeah.
Right? This is where the GST comes in, becomes a little bit more helpful. But then there's something called as Insta Mojo as well, which makes it a bit more easier. I can't think of some more Indian friendly tools, but PayPal if you are using international payments. And however, if you're using Razorpay enables you to use collect international payments through their portal itself. So you don't have to then go through the hassle of having multiple payment accounts. And the other thing is this, I'm not sure if there's something called as Airtable. Okay, that goes a bit more advanced into the context of still in the free version from what I know. Last, you could send emails to your clients. And you could also receive a notification that, okay, someone has made the payment or someone has filled the form. So in case Google glitches or like, it's like you'll get two notifications of the same thing, but it's still there with you. And if you want that, okay, once the client fills the form, makes the payment, then I want to send them the booking link. So Airtable essentially enables that. And that is very simple. Like, you go into the automation tab where you create your base. Uh, I think I'll just quickly send you a Loom video after this, which you might want to share it across. So it's
Okay.
super easy. Form, automation, everything for Airtable is like into one little dashboard. Okay, you don't need to do anything else there. You can send
Especially
follow
if you
clients.
are, yeah, especially if you're doing intake forms or
Yeah,
as well as part of your
yeah,
registration journey or booking journey, then Airtable helps, because then after they have made the payment, you can move them. You don't have to send them a separate link for intake forms or a separate Google form for intake
yeah,
forms. Yeah. So
yeah,
if you share any Loom videos, I will send it over to all the
yeah.
people who registered. Thank you. Okay, is there anything else for the intake forms that we can use apart from Airtable? Is there, just before we go to the session itself?
Um, You can do one more thing. If you're using the entire Google ecosystem, that is a Google workspace, that also enables essentially, so you can use in the Google appointment scheduler, right? What that does is it gives you space to add certain questions. So the person adds the questions, they make the appointment, and then you redirect them to payment. The chain changes a little there, but it's still pretty much the same. That exists there in terms of ensuring the flow is happening without you having to intervene into the process.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. By the way, folks, we are covering a lot of ground. So if you have any questions on any of these points, feel free to send your questions. We will take it immediately, or we'll take it towards the end of the meeting if it is outside of whatever is the context that we are talking about. Right. So now booking done, we've taken the intake form, the session itself, right? Obviously, Google Meet and free Zoom tier you can use for the session itself. If it is in person, then do it at your home. Okay. So, is there any suggestions for you from you for those?
Uh, if you're doing sessions at home, that's a very tricky, and I think it's a very subjective thing, I would honestly say. But if you're doing it at home, I would always recommend have your dedicated space, which no one else really can walk into. And when I say no one else, not even your kids, not even like no one else except you and your client is allowed in there in that space. Boundaries super important. You'll have a lot of notes of the person, of all your clients. So if it gets into the hands, it becomes a topic of discussion. I've been there, how it feels becoming topic of discussion. It still leaves a bitter taste in my mouth. And one more thing I do recommend is that probably have a CCTV camera, probably at the opening of the door. And towards the inside, I think it's a very subjective thing again, but it's for your security and the client's security. And this is not even exactly my thought process, the CCTV piece. I was reading this in part of some community, some Reddit thread essentially, how it helped one of the practitioner when the client falsely accused them of some bad mishaps, like some mishaps. So it kind of came in as a savior for them.
Oh, that is a very interesting point. But what about the client's privacy if you have CCTV in your premise? Do they have to accept that as part of their
You need to
informed
inform them.
consent? Yeah.
Yes, you need to inform them. And secondly, for you to be more, cognizant of the privacy and the confidentiality, ensure that there is no voice recording happening. So that protects a major part on the confidentiality. You don't need to know what the voice is, right? Like what is the conversation happening. You just need to know who comes in and who goes out. If that's at the entrance of your, the entering, wherever you're entering, that at the entrance of your premise. And if you're keeping it inside your premise, again, inform the client well in advance. Uh, And what I've seen, by the way, this might raise a lot of eyebrows and be like, then what if my client is not okay with it? What do I do? Right? Now, this is a very twofold discussion that, okay, probably they might have something in their head that's fishy. Or the other might be that they're actually extremely, uncomfortable. And my usual take on this is that you can probably, okay, there might be some sessions which they genuinely want to keep super confidential. So I usually suggest them ki you could just take a 20-second, 10-second pause to turn off your cameras for that duration, right? And ensure that the client also
The
feels.
towel on it.
Yeah, put a towel on it, put anything. Yeah, put a towel on it. I think it's, so the idea is to ensure that आपकी safety भी intact है और client की safety भी intact है. There is nothing else, really much here. But the safety is what is at stake. Because I've heard a lot of bad things happening with practitioners, especially female practitioners. And that's why I don't even recommend doing it at home. You could probably take up a room in a co-working space, probably, but that also has the whole CCTV issue coming into the picture. Right? So then you need to have your own space.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, this is about in person. Is there any pointers about online that you want to do on free tools that are there for online sessions?
Jitsi is one tool that you can use, which is HIPAA compliant and free. It's JITSI, Jitsi Meet. It's open source, it's HIPAA compliant, and it's free, completely free, right? Google Meet workspace version is HIPAA compliant after you sign the BAA, right? But otherwise, it's not because it's consumer facing. Then Zoom again, you need to go for Zoom Healthcare. You can't do the basic 40 minutes wala free Zoom. Or even if you take the paid version of the Zoom, you need to go for Zoom Healthcare. So if money is the constraint, go for Jitsi. This is what I recommend. And a lot of practitioners globally tend to use this platform, Jitsi, because it's open source and it's HIPAA compliant and free, the best of all.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Good pointers all. Thank you so much. So now let's come to record keeping. I know you talk a lot about that, especially about notes being made available by mistake or intentionally, whatever. So note taking is a very, very important part of a therapist journey. A lot of them take notes on paper, some take notes on their laptop, some write into their whatever tablet or whatever. So what are some free tools that help you make sure that you keep the notes safe and it's still available to you?
Okay. So, I mean, use really, as long as you're hand typing it or hand writing it, it's cool. You can use any thing like Google Doc, Notion, etc. But keep it password protected. Like it has to be probably 3 layers of folders, how I would put it in the easiest of the terms. No one should have access to that drive, right? If you have that drive on your phone as well, along with your laptop, make sure that particular drive app, the Google Drive app, is password protected. That is, again, super important. Have 2FA, which is two-factor authentication in place. And this makes your entire, not just your notes, your emails and everything super secure. And this should be for your personal data privacy also. Have two-factor authentication in place. And it's super simple to use. You can use your Play Store or App Store based on what operating system, and download something called as Google Authenticator. And then it's a pretty simple step to set up your authentication. So every time it will ask you for a passcode, which is valid for, I think, 30 seconds or 10 seconds a lot of times. And it expires. So if you don't enter the code, it expires, you put it again, right? So it kind of protects it. So if I don't have access to a Google Authenticator, I can't access your account. It makes it a little bit more difficult for me to access. That's the premise of it.
Yeah, you
Uh,
don't need to have Google Authenticator as well. You can have two-factor authentication, even with your phone number. So when you're trying to log in,
with
then
SMS.
an SMS comes, or you can have a different email ID where your code goes
Yeah,
if someone wants to. So if Google setting up the Google Authenticator is a little bit too technical for you, you can set up the two-factor authentication in others as well, especially if you're using Google Workspace. Then these are some things that it automatically recommends to you that you
yeah, it does. It does. But the point is that I think most of us already have our Google accounts way before existence of our uh, careers. So yeah, that's why I do recommend. But one thing what I'll not recommend is to have any sort of a note taker tool into the meeting, okay, until and unless it's explicitly built for mental health professionals. It's HIPAA compliant, it's GDPR compliant, and India has its DPDPA, Data Privacy and Data Protection Act, but we're just still in the drafting phase right now. Or I think it's come out, the first one. But the point is, if it's not compliant, do not use this note takers. Do not ever, these are like some do's I'm giving, don'ts I'm giving you, right? Don't use these note takers. Do not put the information on ChatGPT, the notes. I have had one practitioner actually coming to me and telling me, Divya, this has happened. I put it out. I didn't know that ChatGPT uses this data to train. And by the way, you all should go and turn that off. And you should cut this part off the shots. I'm telling you, I think GPT, OpenAI will come behind me. Probably. Is that you can turn off.
they cannot say anything, Divya, because it is true. Anything by default, anything that you put on ChatGPT, the memory is updated and
Yeah.
it's used for training. So you
But you
need
can
to
pause that.
explicitly go and turn
Yeah.
off training from settings. So a lot of people have started using ChatGPT, whether they are practicing therapists or students or whatever.
Everyone does.
Everybody uses
Yeah.
ChatGPT these days, but they don't know that the training can be turned off from the setting, and that is something that I keep telling people: go and turn off the training if you want. Keep your stuff private, okay? And you are not the first one to hear about people saying they take their notes and put it into ChatGPT. I've heard people say that. I've heard people say that they do therapy progress through ChatGPT. I've heard people say that they do their homeworks. Anyways, that is a separate conversation altogether. Just don't do it. But all of
Yeah.
these free automations for notes, keeping your notes secure. What about the actual paper notes? How do you keep them secure?
Uh, that's a very tricky one. But the way I recommend this, and this you can replicate to digital also, is that do not have the client details and the client notes in the same file. Okay, that kind of makes it a little difficult for anyone to figure out who does this note belong to. So if you're using paper, I recommend you invest in a shredder, right? That kind of, it's a little expensive one. The one that I saw was 15,000 something on Amazon, but it's always a good idea to shred away those pieces of paper, right? Because you never know who might get. And if it comes to your digital aspect, um, don't store your files in one place, meaning in that Excel sheet, say if you're using Excel or if you're using Notion for that matter, don't have your client name written and all the details written and then notes followed there. Have two different files or two different tables, or whatever the Notion term is.
Two different pages or
Yeah,
subfolders. So your client details is in one folder, and
yeah.
your
So matching notes
are
in
in
different.
another folder, and you have your own mechanism of connecting the two. You have your own short forms, whether it is,
You can use
client
client
details
ID.
or whatever. You can do that to connect it. Okay.
Yep.
That is good. Since we're talking about using ChatGPT for finding out therapy progress and homeworks, are there any free tools where new therapists can get homework ideas, worksheets, stuff like that, so that um, they have limited, they're still learning themselves. So something that they can pass it on to their clients. Are there any free tools for that?
There are not free tools, but there's this one website. It is psychology students or psychology something. I'll figure that out name for you and I'll send it across to you.
Mhm.
It was taken down recently, by the way. It's an Indian thing wherein you can download a lot of worksheets and templates, assignments, everything from there. But there are no free tools per se that I am at least aware of. There are
Mhm.
freemium tools again. There is something called as Humor. I will put that down in chat box. Humor. It's a UK based company. And then there are a lot of practice management apps that tend to give a homework generator in there, but it's usually not a free one.
Mhm.
Um, because I think it's a very important part of the whole journey and it takes a lot of resources to get developed, right?
Mhm.
So that's the techie side of me talking. And yeah, so there are not exactly much free tools, but what I do recommend is that you can, if you are using plus version, like a paid version of GPT,
Mhm.
or you can take it for a month, create some custom GPTs for yourself. It's very easy. It's not technical, nothing. Okay? Create some custom GPTs, which you can go back to. And then even if you cancel the subscription of it, which is cool, but you'll still have access to those links, which you need to save, by the way, somewhere. Okay? And make it public. Then you can go and always ask GPT to create those homeworks for you. And without giving any client information, by the way. And yeah, there are not much free tools on this spectrum. But I think if you get a little more specific, are we talking about generating? Are we talking about sharing? Are we talking about progress tracking? That might like help me a little. But otherwise, even then, there are not free tools.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Okay, I'm going to pause at this time to check if there are any questions from the audience. You can either put your hand up or ask, or you can type it into chat as well. If not, I'm going to ask one more thing, which is slightly different. We spoke about marketing, we spoke about private practice. What about going and signing up into a therapy marketplace? There are a lot of therapy marketplace these days. I mean, it's not just in India, anyway, right?
Yeah.
So, what are some free good therapy marketplaces that are available? What, more importantly, what should therapists be knowing about when they sign up into these free therapy marketplaces?
Okay. One is psychology today if you're wanting to cater to the Indian diaspora. Um, there is mind psychology, which is for the Australian, if you're targeting specifically Indian diaspora in Australia,
Mhm.
right? I'm not sure if we have got Indian directories directly per se. I guess that is free.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, I don't know about tool platforms like MindPeers. I don't know if
Mhm.
it's free or not. Um, yeah, I think most of them usually take practitioners on board in India, at least on, I think payroll or something.
Yeah.
But then there are a lot of platforms like MindPeers, I told you, right? DocVita. Um, I guess they were initially allowing practitioners to list themselves, but then they take a certain cut. Nothing comes for free in today's world. Let's just accept it. We've been talking about free automations, but nothing exactly comes for free. And whenever you are signing up for these, it's extremely essential for you to read through the terms and conditions. And this you can, by the way, feed to GPT and ask if there is any caveat that you need to know, right? No one likes to read those 10 pages long legal documents. Feed it to GPT, ask it if there are any caveats I need to know as I'm planning to sign up on this platform as a therapist and list my profile, right? I think that kind of helps. Um, there is this one more, which is Canada based, which is firstsession.com. I am not sure if they'll take Indian practitioners, but if you're an Indian practitioner based out of Canada, it's a good one for you, right? So I think every country has its own set of directories.
Yeah. So, I mean, there are in India, a lot of people are now on TopMate, but that is not free. There is Swiggy minis that are coming up. That's not free as well. But one thing to note, what you said, I really, really liked it, is take the terms and conditions, put it into Chat GPT, ask for caveats, but also be sure to ask it whether your details and your client details are going to be shared with third party. A lot of these platforms will share yours and your client details to third parties for ad targeting. So that is normal. A lot of people do it. So if you want, at least be aware that, okay, I know this is happening and I'm going into it with my eyes wide open. You tell your clients also that if you're booking through that, this is what is going to happen. So just be aware of that part. Okay,
Um,
so yeah, go on.
there's one more thing I want to add is that adding on to what you just said, right, about the third party. So if you go for directories that are extremely specific for mental health professionals or for this field, the chances of that happening goes down drastically. But if you go to a platform that caters to probably gazillion of different experts from different fields, then that is like probably happening by default because they want to make money. So a better way would be to stick to directories that are exclusively meant for this. Again, there
Mm.
are a lot of, you know, uh, many of these directories also are tending to do a lot of frauds these days and everything. So just be a little more cognizant. Don't give out your client data, you know, or at least try to keep, just see, yeah, this is one point. How much of the data can you control? Read this in the terms and conditions, terms of use more specifically. How much data can you control? Can you delete this data? I mean, can you ask for deletion of the data if you can't delete it yourself? And who owns this data? And if you're using any other tool, so say if they are giving you a platform, a video calling platform, are they sharing out that data? High chances they are, because they want to create a, invite and link and everything. Then probably your best bet is to stay away from using their platform. So these are like certain things. Know what are your rights on your data. That's like a must thing to know.
All right.
And
Okay.
sorry, two directories that I could think of is the Mind Clan. It's
Mhm.
CLAN clan. That's a Indian based directory. And there was this one by TIS, which I don't know if it's functional or not. I don't have the reviews of it. That's called iCall. It's alphabet I and call CALL, I call therapist directory.
Mm.
So these are
Mm.
like some, and I think you can find more on GPT, honestly.
Yeah, okay. So again, I'm going to pause right here, see if anybody has any questions. We actually wanted to stop at 7:45. We moved to 7:50.
I would appreciate if you've got questions, anything like, no, it's not like any question is a dumb question or something on those lines. But
Yeah.
I would love to hear your thoughts if you find this valuable because you invested your time into this workshop. So any feedback, if not questions. That seems okay.
That's okay. If there are no questions, it means that we have been extremely effective in giving away all the right information. So everybody is going to give us a big round of applause for, doing such a good job. Well, at least there are applauses and,
Thank you
confetti
guys.
coming our way, which means that I take it as very good feedback to you. Divya, thank you so much. So this was really, really good. I really enjoyed and I learned a lot of things from this conversation as well. Thank you, Divya, for giving us all of this feedback. And
Thank you
thank
so
you
much. Thank
all.
you so much for having me.
No problem. And thank you, audience, for all the applause and joining this session. I will send all of the details that Divya shares to you directly whenever I get them. And we will continue to have other Zen Circle webinars as well. If you want to know more about what other webinars we have coming up, join our WhatsApp group, and I will see you in the next webinar. Until then, have a lovely evening. Bye, everyone.
Bye bye.